Everybody has some work. I got Praise George coming in here. Give me one.
Hey,
I got my boy PG. I was just talking about you earlier, my friend.
yeah,
So
I,
I
I,
was,
I like what you're talking
mhm,
about friends.
yeah,
Um, let me just say something about
by all means.
yeah, you don't really know your friends until you start how do I say it?
So you
Expressing
accept
your
it.
true self.
Hmm.
Until you start expressing your true self. You know, all those people you were talking about, the people you grew up with, the people you were in school with, and all those people,
Hmm.
they never really knew the real you
Hmm.
because you had not really, how do I say it? You have not attained to that level of self-awareness.
Hmm.
Yes, you've not attained to that level. So the moment you start becoming more aware, you start separating, they start going away from you because now you start like how do I say it? When light comes, darkness vanishes. So the light in you, the light inside of you, just started shifting the darkness away, the negativity away, and all those people. That's what happened.
I agree with you. I mean, I'm into the law of attraction, which is really the law of vibration. So as my authentic self, what's your authentic self? It's, powerful,
Yes.
it's faithful, it's loving. So I'm putting forth this vibration now of love and peace,
Yeah.
kindness, and they don't match up to it. And so they have to go. So, by the way, for those of you who don't know who this man is, this is Praise George. He's my boy. He's, there's like very few people who I study. I have his book right here, actually. It just arrived today. Let me show it to them so I could give you a good plug. It's Life on Your Own Terms. So I read his other book, Clarity. Sometimes you'll see me wearing in my videos a shirt that says "You'll be fine." That's his catchphrase, so to speak, and you will be fine. And so he's somebody that I go to and turn to for wisdom, advice, and upliftment. So I'm glad you're here.
Yeah. So let me tell you, let me quickly say this. Um, uh, the the more you study, the more you grow,
Mhm.
the more you will repel certain people and you will attract certain people. Yeah, it's the law of life.
Mhm. I
It's
believe
it's
this
it's the
totally.
law. Yeah, yeah.
You're
Continue. It's a law.
Yeah, he's he's right because when you grow on a physical level, excuse me, when you study material such as this book, you're actually creating brain cells of a positive type. You're literally changing your physiology, so you're becoming a better person. That's why I recommend to everybody spend at least 15 minutes every day reading something of an inspirational nature, something positive, and you'll start shifting. Your personality will start changing, your physiology will start changing, your vibration that you're putting out into the universe will change, and things will begin to shift for you, both consciously by the thoughts you think and the actions you take,
Yeah,
and subconsciously by the vibration you're putting it forth will start to transform things for you. So,
I think the challenge many people have. This is the challenge many people have. We try to hold on to the people who no longer belong on our level. You just try to hold on to those people, and they are no longer on your level. So you're actually struggling and fighting to maintain a relationship, to sustain that relationship. But you've grown. You're far beyond that level. So, and let me tell you something, Tony. Something I saw somewhere. They said that they said that um, negative energy. If you're with five, if you have five friends, you
mhm.
have five friends, and they're all negative, they're gonna pull you down. They'll pull you down. They'll pull you because the negative energy, it's just something else. So the best thing for you to do if you find out all these five guys or friends are not growing, move away from them because they will pull you down to their level. That's the fact of life. That's just the
I,
fact of
it,
life.
it's 100%. I read a study once where they showed that if you take somebody who's unproductive and place that person around people who are productive, that person doesn't become more productive. Instead, what happens is that person pulls down the productive people to his level. So the same thing is happening. People think like, oh, I'm just hanging out with my friend that I knew from back in the day. It's no big deal. It is a big deal. That person either
It is.
at all
It is.
times, either you're raising them up or they're bringing you down. There's not going to be a, standing still, so to speak. So I agree with you totally. So it's important to be aware of your friends. And then also so many people have relationships. I agree with you totally. They're like on life support, these relationships, and they keep resuscitating them. And it's like, just let them go. It was done
Yeah.
5 or 10 years ago. You don't need to keep bringing that person around. So
let me ask a question. So why are people scared? Why are they afraid of letting go of those unproductive relationships? Why?
I think it's because they don't want to be perceived as a bad guy. Sometimes you have to be raw and honest with somebody, like, hey, this just doesn't work for me anymore, or your style of behavior. And so they have to be honest, and nobody wants to be seen as the villain or the bad guy. And so they just, instead, they pretend and they play that fake role, even though when they leave, every time they hang out with that person afterwards, they feel depleted and they feel worse, and they know they shouldn't, but they go, oh, it's just once a year I see that person, or I only every week or two I talk to him or her. And so they'd rather just not rock the boat, so to speak. So I think that's a lot of what it is. That's why I have that affirmation that I tell people: I'm asserting the mastery of my real self. It's time to assert it. Bring your authentic self forward. If certain relationships don't work, for those watching this, like, let them go. It's okay. I feel like you do yourself and them a disservice by keeping them around if you don't really want them to be around, because there's somebody around them who will value them. So I heard a woman say, she wrote the book, I think it was like the four laws of prosperity, I believe it was the book she wrote. But she said, she was talking about this same principle in regards to work. She said, if you go to work every day at a job you hate, she said, you're stealing the job of somebody who would actually enjoy that job. So go and leave it and go do something you enjoy.
Yes. So, why do people, I think one of the reasons why people are scared or afraid to walk away is because they don't like conflict.
Absolutely.
Makes them uncomfortable. Makes them uncomfortable. They don't like it. It makes them feel uncomfortable. So because they don't want to feel uncomfortable, they still hold on to that relationship, and they suffer emotionally, mentally, even physically. They suffer because they don't want conflict. They don't want conflict. And so let's talk about that.
It's like ripping off a Band-Aid. It's easier to just rip it off than to keep going slowly and slowly and slowly. So I agree with that. And then nowadays, it's interesting because another study they did where it was about people who were going to get fired from a job. They said, how would you want to get fired? And over 90% of the people said they would just rather be like sat down and told, hey, you're fired, and just let go without like this big song and dance and like beating around the bush. And is that how people fire each other? Usually it's not. They go like, well, things aren't kind of working out, and that's how they end relationships too. So I think it's better to just go in, handle it. I was even listening to Jordan Peterson talk about this. You know who Jordan Peterson is? Yeah. You might have even posted it. He talked about how if conflict comes up, he likes to handle it right away. He likes to just go to the person and say, what's the issue? He said he doesn't like conflict. It causes a lot of stress for him, but he'd rather just get to the core of it right away and get it done. And that's how I am too. If somebody has an issue with me, I'm like, all right, let's air it out and like get it resolved right away. Usually it's much smaller than whatever it is that we think it is. If you believe, I like to take a spiritual view of everything. If you believe that there's only God, underneath the stress, the negativity, whatever, the psyche of man, there's the spiritual presence of God. So I try to see like instead of me communicating to you like person to person, I like to see like it's soul talking to soul, the spirit of God communicating to the spirit of God. And usually we can come to some resolution or solution irrespective of how things look at the time. So that's
let me say this. If any of your people if they have a problem with how do I say, with conflict, they don't know how to bring up a subject and deal with an issue. One of the things I would suggest is for them to get on Twitter
and just argue with people. Yeah.
Oh no. When you get on Twitter, the reason why I'm good on TikTok is because I'm dangerous on Twitter. You don't try me on Twitter. You don't. I'm not scared of conflict. I'm not afraid of conflict. I say my mind. I say and it does something to you. It builds your confidence. It totally builds your confidence because you're not scared of any situation, and it translates into your life, into your job, into your business, into your relationships. So if they're having, you know, they're scared of, I mean, confronting people, bringing up issues, talking about stuff, tell them to go open an account on Twitter, you know. Yeah. Because let me tell you, trying to protect people, you see somebody's weak, you know, this person is weak. The only, like Charles Anil, you know Charles Anil, the master key?
Oh, yeah,
You know Charles,
of
the
course.
master key, Charles Anil.
Yeah.
He said the only cure for weakness is power. That's the only
Yeah.
cure.
Nice.
Yeah, that's the only cure for weakness. It's power. It's not trying to protect them. It's not trying to shield them from their situation and conflict and problem. The cure for weakness, Charles Haniel, the master key, the cure for weakness is power. So you have to, how do I say it? Either you create a situation where they have to use their power and they're compelled and forced to use their power. Because if they never use their power, they will become weak. Everybody has power. Everybody has power. But if you don't put them in the right conditions and right situations, they will never use their power and they will remain weak. So you find a way and push them. You know, sometimes teachers like us, you know, you try to protect people. You know, this guy is weak or this girl is weak. Let's protect. No. Sometimes it's terrible. It's a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Let them enter situations of conflict and strife and difficult, tough situations, and they will be forced and compelled to release and use their power.
I agree, and amen. I have a few things to say to that. They're like, they have to undergo their crucible, so to speak. I realized, I realized this years back. I would see there would be two groups of people. There, when I did, for those of you who don't know, I compete in Muay Thai fights. I've done boxing matches. So I realized that there was two groups of people. There was those who would put themselves into these scary situations and compete, and then there was the people who were also training at the same time but wouldn't compete. And the people who were competing were growing at a much more exponential rate and developing a level of mastery that the other people who weren't competing but still training at the same time, you know, were growing at. And so I said, I need to put myself in these situations. So I would go and do these fights against God knows who, you know, but it helped. And then, like you said, it translates. If I know I can handle myself physically, I know that whatever someone says isn't going to really affect me mentally or emotionally the way it would if, you know, if I was weak, if I didn't believe in myself. So that's one. And then two, sometimes my cousin was talking to me about this. Sometimes people say negative stuff on my videos and I respond to them. And he goes, why don't you just ignore them? I said, I like to, because it sharpens your debate skills. It sharpens your reasoning skills. It's a skill that every time you practice it, it gets sharper and sharper and sharper. And then they can say something and you respond right away and it doesn't phase you. And you learn how to debate. You learn how to engage. You learn how to interact with each other. The real world, there's going to be people who are going to say stuff. So you got to develop a strong exterior, so to speak.
Yeah, you have to. I think you've recommended the Master Key, Charles Haniel. You recommended that book.
Mm-hmm.
I think you should do that again. I think you should do it again and again, because many people, the first time you do it, they don't take it seriously. They don't take it seriously. And you have to repeat. You have to repeat an idea up to 20 times or so before they grab it and they go take the book and read it. I will tell you something that happened to me on Twitter. Let me tell you something that happened to me on Twitter. I posted something and 10,000 people came to attack me. 10,000. Wow. 10. Not 500 people, not 1,000 people. 10,000. They came at me. Now, it was stressful, but it's building character inside of me because I stood my ground. 10,000. I stood my ground. You can't. So can you imagine you having, after facing 10,000 people on Twitter, you go out and you have a situation. I'm not moved. Man, I'm strong. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm strong. Do you understand what I'm saying? So those situations, they build your mind, build you, make you strong. You know, so trying to keep and shield people from conflict is really hurting them and doing them a disservice. So we should try and encourage the people we're teaching and training and you know, encourage them, you know, to, have you read what's the name of this guy, Robert Greene, the other 33 Laws of War?
The 48. Yeah, no, I haven't read that.
Not 48 Laws of Power. Not 48 Laws of Power. For other 33 Laws of War. The laws of war. Have you read it?
No, I haven't.
Robert Greene. Robert Greene. You should read it. I think one of the first laws of war is that you should intentionally put yourself in a difficult situation.
I agree.
Intentionally.
Totally.
That's one of the first laws of war. Intentionally put yourself in a difficult situation that you'll be forced and compelled to do something. Do you know the story of that man, that army that went to war and they burnt their boats? You remember that?
Yeah. They burn all the ships. Yes.
Yeah. So they burnt the boats and said, listen, we're either going to win or we will die. So one of the laws, the first laws of war, is to put yourself in a difficult situation that will compel you to use your power. So it's intentional. Intentional. I'm listening to you.
I think it's great. I have a bunch of points to say to all this. So I agree with you totally. It reminds me of two pivotal times in my life. The first time was when I started my own business. I was 22. My friend and I started a business. He borrowed from a separate friend. It was nearly 40,000 so we can get the business going. And I remember I told myself, I said, either this business will make it or I'll die, but there's no in between. And sure enough, I pushed myself. I worked on it night and day. And within 6 months, we paid all $40,000 back. And within a year, we got it to do over $200,000 in sales. So that was one, but it was a risk. And then another time was when I first moved to LA. I had been accepted to a real prestigious school, but I didn't have any way to afford it. So I went and got this little tiny apartment in South Central LA. For those who don't know, South Central is one of the worst neighborhoods in the United States. I moved there. My friend calls it like the Roach Motel. I remember it was like, I had this little tiny mattress. Bugs would crawl on me as I would sleep. Like, it was horrible. But then from there, I met one of my best friends. I moved in with him. I graduated from that school. I started that business, but I had to put myself in that situation so that good things would come from it. Now, I also want to go back, like you had mentioned, excuse me for 1 second, let me just plug this in really quick just so I can get my computer died. You had mentioned the Master Key system and reading it 20 times. I read it every year. I've read it so many times now. People go, wow, you know this stuff so well. It's because you need to just repetition. There was a saying, it goes, repetition is the mother of repetition is the mother of skill. So you got to, so I've done this, I've read that book over and over and over again. And every time I read it, I get a deeper understanding of it. I find there's so much, like you just said that phrase earlier about the only way to get rid of weakness is power. And I was like, but it was like, I heard it for the first time. So despite having read the book so many times. So I think that's fantastic. And then when I first started coaching, I originally started with coaching men in the dating area. So, and I would get results with these men, but I would do it privately because I didn't want to put myself out there publicly. It was I'm usually at the time I was a real private person. So suddenly I was going to share all of my dating exploits and how I have success with women. It was scary to me. So the first thing I posted an article or a blog post on Reddit, and it went super viral. Like same thing, and suddenly I had all these guys who had no success with women telling me about how I'm a fake and I'm a fraud and I'm a scam artist. And I was like, man, should I delete this? But then I thought, no, I'm going to speak my truth. This is my reality. Like, this is what I'm accomplishing and I'm getting results for men. And just because that's not the reality, I'm not going to run away from the crowd, so to speak. And I stuck with it. And then all these guys ended up following me and I changed a bunch of their lives. So I agree with you totally. And sometimes that's life's way of testing you. Like, hey, are you serious about this? Are you really going to make an impact or are you going to go back into your shell? So sometimes you got to just, go full steam ahead and make things happen.
Yeah. So about that, Charles Hanil, I want us to talk about visualization. So we're going to find a time, maybe this weekend or so, either Saturday or Sunday. We're going to talk about visualization because I've seen that I'm going to tell you a passage of scripture from the Bible. A passage of scripture from the Bible. I think it's Genesis 14:15 or so. So God was talking to Abraham. He says, as far as you can see, I will give to you. As far as you can see. Have you ever heard this before?
I maybe. Keep going. But I know you're going to break it down.
This is a statement. As far as you can see, you will possess. As far as you can see. So if you don't see it, you can't possess it. You have to see it. So that is a fundamental principle. It's a spiritual law. It's a spiritual law. So God was telling Abraham that as far as you can see, not what I show you, you, as far as you have to see it. So as far as you can see, you will possess. You will attract into your life. That's the fundamental law of attraction. That's the fundamental law. So if people cannot visualize and see exactly what they want, they'll be stuck on the same spot. So visualization is very important, and I think we have to talk about visualization on its own and talk about visualization and help people, to see the things that they want, to help them. Because many people they can't focus, they can't concentrate, they can't hold on to one thought and just stay. They can't. Their thoughts are everywhere, So visualization is a powerful thing. So I'd like us to talk about it. I'm listening. Not today. We're going to talk about it.
I agree with that. That's one of the things that the master key system talks about. People are scatterbrained. They have one thought, 1 second, one thought, and they wonder why they don't get anywhere because they're constantly jumping. And the exercise, the first week, he has you just take control of your body. Just sit still and see if you can just sit still without getting up and moving. Most people can't sit still for 5 minutes, especially nowadays. So you have to get control of your body first. And then the second week, he has you see if you can just take control of your mind. If you can relax your mind, get passive. And then from there, he has you do exercises like you visualize something and see if you can just visualize that for 15 minutes. And you have to develop your concentration so that you could, essentially create what it is that you want. Now, there was something else that I wanted to say that I thought would be important. Oh, yeah. You were saying, as far as your eyes can see, I was thinking of the quote, he who is without vision perishes. It's a similar. Mm-hmm.
Woo! I like that. Keep on.
Yeah. So it's a similar thing. If you don't have vision, if you're not seeing something in your life, what are you going to do? You're just going to look at what's around you, and then you're just going to create more of what is instead of calling for something much higher and better for your life. And people wonder why they're stuck. It's because they don't have vision. They don't see what it is that they want. They're not showing it to themselves. And as a result, they just keep looking at what's around them and just creating. They're just telling the universe, give me more of this, even though it's what they don't want. So
let me say this. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to leave you to continue with your people. I'm going to say this.
I'm glad you jumped in.
So I'm going to say this. So on Twitter, I tell my followers to relocate from the wrong environment and move to the right environment, because success is impossible in the wrong environment. Success is totally impossible in the wrong environment. Why? One of the things is that one reason is that in the wrong environment, you will only find the wrong people. The wrong environment, the wrong people. And the wrong people will never recognize, receive, or reward your value. They will never recognize your value. They will never receive your value. They will never reward your value. In fact, the wrong people will make you feel like you have zero value, and they will make you feel worthless and useless in the wrong environment. So one of the things you do for yourself is move away from the wrong environment, and mental environment, physical environment, So you were talking about the environment that you stayed when you first came to LA. So this is what I tell my people. I tell my people on Twitter. It is better for you to live in a shack. Live in a shack in Beverly Hills. Live in a shack in Beverly Hills. That when you wake up in the morning and you come out of your one room in Beverly Hills, what you see around you, the visualization, what you see is success. So you come out of that one room in Beverly Hills, but all you see is success around you. Or you can have a mansion in central LA, which is ghetto. And that's a terrible place to be. So it is better for you to have that one room in Beverly Hills, just one room, just a small room and tiny space. Because when you wake up every morning, what you see, you just see success, and it's affecting your mind. It's affecting your thinking, because environment matters. Environment is important. Environment. So to help your visualization, you may need to relocate. You may need to move from where you are and move to a new location to help your visualization.
This, by the way, I agree with you totally. So I talk about, so some people can't immediately move. So I tell them, at least in the interim, what I have them do is it's an abundance exercise. I actually did it for myself, and I attracted so much wealth. So at the time, I didn't have much money. things weren't going right for me. And
Yeah.
I said, I need to create money. So I took myself, every city has an area like this. For instance, in New York, they
Okay.
have Manhattan, that's really affluent. In
Okay. Yeah,
LA, it's
Manhattan. Yeah.
Beverly Hills. In San Diego, there's Del Mar. So I went to Del Mar to this really upscale hotel. And I sat at the lounge area where it's all these wealthy people. I even ran into somebody who I knew was really wealthy. At the time, I had like maybe even less than $20. If they told me to buy a drink at the bar, I couldn't have bought it. They would have kicked me out. So, but I just sat and I felt the affluence of the place. It's by the beach. It's beautiful. Everything's luxurious. There's all these beautiful women. All the men are dressed nice. They're all successful. My friend that I ran into is super successful that was there. And what did I do? I wrote out how I'd like my life to be. I said, I'll be living in Carlsbad, which I live right now. I said, I will be the #1 producer for my company, which I ended up becoming. I'll earn such and such dollars. And I wrote it out in the present tense. I am earning such and such, living here, doing this. My body's in great shape. And I wrote it out and I got into the feeling tone of it. And then when I went back to my old place, what I did was every day I would read that what I wrote out, but I would feel as if I was there again in the rich place. So I'm attracting, so even physically, I hadn't been there, but mentally, emotionally, vibrationally, I was already living in that new environment. And within a month, everything came together. I got a new job and right by where it is that I wanted to move. I live now where I wanted to live. I ended up becoming #1 in sales. It was like everything changed. And it started with me changing internally. So you change the internal and the external changes. The reason I mentioned that is some people might say, well, that's easy for you to say, I can't move yet or whatever. Everyone can do that exercise. All it'll cost you is, a couple hours on a weekend one day to go drive to whatever that affluent area is, get into the vibration of it, and it will cause things to shift for them. So
An exercise before I go, an exercise for everybody, an exercise. I used to do this a lot. What you're saying, I used to do it. So you go to an expensive restaurant.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. That's another one.
You save money for 3 months or so, just save some money and go buy lunch in an expensive restaurant and sit in that restaurant. You can be there for an hour, 30 minutes and just saturate and just take in the environment and just because all around you are successful people. Then there's a way, there is a study that connects your emotions with food, with what you're eating, your emotions with food. And one of the keys, one of the keys in the laws of attraction is your emotion, having a very high emotional state. So you have to get yourself to a high emotional state. So if you're eating good food in a good environment, and you're seeing all these wonderful people, your emotional state just goes high. So anybody listening to me right now, save some money, go to the best restaurant you can afford in your city or state. Save some money. Don't worry, don't rush it. Save some money. Dress really nice. And so that you feel good. Go to that restaurant, sit down and enjoy your meal. It will affect your mind. It will affect your mind. You can go back to wherever you stay, it doesn't matter, but it's going to do something to your mind, to do
So
something
he
to your mind.
recommended this exercise. You might not remember this, but I had posted something about this. And you said you recommended this exercise, and you said when you eat, you said, tell yourself, this is my life now. This is how things will be from now on. And so I went and did that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I did. Oh, I can't remember.
Yeah. Yep. So I went and did this. I got dressed up. I went to a super nice lunch by myself. I was relaxed. It's by the beach. I told myself, this is my life now. This is how things are going to be.
This is your life. This is my life now. This is wait, can you let's this is what I do for my followers. I tell them they should write it down. This is my life now. This is your, so they write it down. They have an affirmation. You can tell them, so they write it down and they have it, they remember it, and so they go use it. So this is my life now. This is how things should be, and then I'm getting better. Yeah, this is my life now. And the more you do it, the better. The more you do it, the more frequent. You'll find out one day that things have just changed. Things have just changed. Your life has changed, and you have no idea. You are going to say something. Sorry.
No, that's exactly what happened. I ended up manifesting all this money, and this is my life now. My friend messaged me the other day. Thank you. He's like, Tony, you eat so well. He's like, all your Instagram photos are you out eating somewhere like super fancy, super nice. And I was like, yeah, that's my life now. When you do
Thank
that,
you.
you're setting up a reference point for your brain. Your brain knows now, like, okay, this is it. This is what I'm creating for, for him or her, depending on who's watching. This is what my life is now. Or you can say this or something better, and it will start creating that for you. Show yourself what it is you want. And that was what my life is now. So now and I was thinking the other day exactly what you said. I said, how did I get here? Like, how did things like work out good? How did things turn out this way? And so little by little, or putting yourself in these states and taking yourself to these places, you end up manifesting what it is you want. And so I listen when you talk, my friend. Thank you.
So Saturday, we're going to have a live. We're going to talk about visualization. So tell your friends, tell your
Yeah, I'll tell
people.
my.
I'm going to tell them. So we'll fix a time. We'll fix a good time for you. We'll fix a
Awesome.
good time for you. Thank you,
Okay.
my friend. Thank
I'm
you, my
looking
friend.
forward. Thanks
Blessings.
for joining. I was great connecting with you. I'll talk to you soon. All right. I'll see you later. Oh, I don't know how to disconnect it, so I'm gonna stay on. I'll see you later. So everybody, if you don't follow him, please do. We